Hey guys, I'm Nick and welcome back to the channel. Well, today we're talking about the return of Star Trek Lower Decks. Season 3 has just hit our TV screens and the first episode, entitled Grounded, is upon us. It was a nice introduction back to our Lower Decks crew in this episode. We had some nice callbacks to little Star Trek references. We had a guest star from a previous Star Trek feature film, which was a lot of fun. And this was a fine way back, dipping our toe into the Lower Decks pool again. I'm going to take you through the episode. We're going to look at all those little hidden Easter eggs and references and so forth that popped up in this episode, see what we can make of those, and go through my thoughts on the episode as a whole. Guys, if you haven't subscribed to Sci Fanatics yet, please don't be scared to do so. Click on that big red button to stay up to date with all the latest Star Trek news on YouTube. So this episode started off with the news crawl from the Federation News Network. I was listening to the recap of what was going on with the news presenter, but what was equally interesting was all the little crawls down the bottom of the screen, which had a number of different headlines going on as well. And I'm trying to listen to the newsreader and stuff and get the recap, and then obviously read the little in-jokes and references that are coming out of the news crawl at the bottom. So let's start with the news crawl. Firstly, we had Captain Jellicoe banning the Zebulon sisters from active duty. Jellicoe obviously being the very hard-ass captain that took over from Picard in the Chain of Command episode while Picard was off, seeing that there was in fact 4 lights with the Cardassians. So a couple of fun references there. We got a couple of references to the baseball games that I think Sisko barracked for in the DS9 baseball episode, talking about the London Kings and the Buffalo Solar Knights there, a couple of baseball teams that Sisko was a fan of. And carrying on with the references to the TNG episode Peak Performance, we had the Zakdorn Stratagema champion or whatever crawl across the bottom of the screen. He was playing that game and he had a lot of finger action going on. Him and the Zakdorn guy and Data were playing that in on the Enterprise in that episode. So that was a callback to that. And Sonny Clemens was a country music star that was cryogenically frozen in 1994, only to be reanimated on the Enterprise, I think it was, in the first season episode, The Neutral Zone. He was a country and western singer, and obviously his concert activities had fans rushing the stage in this news crawl. The scene with Boimler and Mariner at the vineyard was a bit of fun, obviously meant to make us believe we were going to see Picard at the Chateau Picard or whatever, but obviously turned out to be Boimler picking raisins. We had all the different ladies of the vineyard trying to seduce Boimler, but he was too wrapped up in raisin science to kind of catch the hint. And then we see our other lower deckers hanging out at Sisko's restaurant in New Orleans, which obviously we saw many times on Star Trek DS9. The guys sitting at the table there, they've got a bottle of Ketracel hot sauce, Ketracel White being the narcotic that the Jem'Hadar were addicted to and were used as a control by the Vorta to keep them in line. So yeah, it looks like Ketracel's been expanding their narcotics to hot sauces for restaurants, it would appear. But maybe just a little bit too spicy for Boimler. So after a brief rendezvous with Denny, the grandfatherly old transporter chief or security chief, our lower deckers end up getting beamed to Montana, Bozeman, which is the site of the first contact situation with Zefram Cochrane launching the Phoenix, as depicted in the Star Trek First Contact movie. And this whole space is now turned into a massive theme park. So we've got statues of Zefram Cochrane doing the whole pointing to the distance, as Geordi described in the film. We've got all manner of theme park rides, from the Flight of the Phoenix to drink stations called Thirst Contact, balloons for sale in the form of the Enterprise and the Defiant, and the Vulcan's first ship, replicas of the bar where Zefram Cochrane used to drink. The Vulcan ship is now a kiddie slide. It's just a huge homage to Star Trek First Contact, even right down to the Jerry Goldsmith theme playing in the background. Not to mention a voiceover by none other than James Cromwell, reprising his role as Zefram Cochrane himself. I love all all the theme park tropes in this little moment where we've got Zephram Cochrane doing the pre-recorded moments on the TV screens while everyone waits in the 25-minute long queue to get onto the ride. It's all your typical theme park activities and idiosyncrasies that we all know and love. Or maybe not the waiting times. And I love it when he says that there's no food or beverage allowed inside the ride, and Tanty and Rutherford have to scarf down their churros that they've got from a stall out the front. And the ride kicks off, and of course Zephram Cochrane has to put in the disc with the Steppenwolf, I think it's Steppenwolf Magic Carpet Ride song, as he played in Star Trek First Contact. So there's so many cool Star Trek First Contact references in this episode. I thought they were really fun, particularly in the context of the whole theme park scenario. Our Lower Deckers finally get it back on board the Cerritos, courtesy of the ride that they hitched on the Phoenix from the theme park, and Boimler's finally able to get into his logs to help to clear Captain Freeman. And we find out a few interesting details here about Boimler. The most interesting one, I thought, is the fact that he actually dyes his hair purple. His hair isn't naturally purple, and he has to make a note to himself to hide his purple hair dye because he doesn't want anyone to know that he colours his hair. So what is Boimler's hair colour naturally? Interesting question. Not convinced that Boimler's somewhat dubious logs are going to actually help in any way to save her mum. Mariner decides to hijack and steal the Cerritos after letting our other Lower Deckers adrift in the shuttlecraft, but they manage to get back on board and join her in her quest. And after getting busted by Starfleet security, who were hanging out in a regular one-style space station playing 3D chess on their computer to pass the time, they tried to kind of get around it by pretending to be on a scientific mission to study the pink space blobs that are passing through this part of the galaxy. It kind of goes off on a little bit of a tangent at this moment in the episode. We get Freeman back. Everything's sorted out. We didn't see the trial. We didn't see anything resolved. And we get a kind of a very fast kind of recap from Freeman as to what happened in terms of the court case and how it was all solved and everything. It kind of flew through it very quickly. And it's like, oh, okay, I would have actually liked to see all that stuff. That would have been really interesting and a really fun episode to see Tuvok and all the other characters working to free her and finding the evidence and everything. But I kind of felt maybe we were a little bit cheated out of that, out of those moments, because we were too busy watching the Lower Deckers fight on board the Cerritos and do their stuff with the pink blobby creatures that were flying through the galaxy. But instead, all this other interesting stuff was going on with Freeman freeing her up from the trial, involving Tuvok and the others and everything. And it's sort of like, wanted to see that. So, I guess they had to kind of wrap up the whole Freeman in custody angle in the first episode so we can then move on to our normal storytelling in episode 2. But still, I think it would have been cool to see a little bit of that stuff, perhaps in a little bit more detail than just a very, very fast recap from Freeman. And the investigation was led by Captain Morgan Bateson, which was the Starfleet officer that Kelsey Grammer played in that episode, I think it was Cause and Effect, I think it was, where the Enterprise kept blowing up over and over again because it smashed into a Miranda-class ship, I think it was. And he played the Starfleet officer in that. So we had Tuvok, we had the Kelsey Grammer role from that episode. It's like, oh, come on, we could have seen a bit more of that in detail, couldn't we have? Anyway, really fun recap from Captain Freeman there. I just wish we had seen some of it and we hadn't been hanging out with the Lower Deckers squabbling on the bridge of the Cerritos and, dealing with pink blobby space slugs. And in one of the last FNN news broadcasts, we hear about a little boy who solved Fermat's last theorem, mathematical equation, which if I remember correctly, Picard used to try to solve it or something in his spare time. He kind of had it up on his monitor in his ready room or something, which was featured in the Next Generation episode, The Royale. Another hark back to an old TNG episode there. And we end with Gavin being dragged off the Phoenix ride ship that he takes out for a spin after the Lower Deckers abandon it, and he gets dragged back to Earth by a couple of Federation security officers. Oh, look, all in all, I think this was a fun episode. It was okay. It was would have liked to see a few more of those things that Freeman talked about in her little recap there, in terms of how she got off and how she got freed instead of maybe what was going on with the lower deckers. But I guess that's kind of the nature of the show, is that we're not privy to the goings on of our main bridge crew, and then we have to sort of, sometimes just stick with whatever's going on with our lower deckers, which I guess is the nature of the show. All in all, bit of fun. Loved the whole First Contact theme park. That was a great addition to the episode. Good to see Zephram Cochrane and James Cromwell reprising his role there as that character, and all the fun things that were associated with that theme park, all based on Star Trek First Contact. So that was fun. Guys, I've been working really hard the last couple of weeks to try to rebuild the merch store from scratch. Got a lot of new designs in there. Hope you like them. Please check out the link in the description, which takes you to the merch store. There's always a bargain and a sale going on there, so help support the channel. I've lost a large percentage of my designs that I've had in there over the last couple of years, so hopefully you're liking some of the new designs I've got in there and help support the channel at the same time. Guys, as always, leave a super thanks if you're able to as well. That helps the channel out immensely. Like this video and leave a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you thought about this first episode of Season 3 of Star Trek Lower Decks. Subscribe if you haven't already done so, and check out memberships as well, where you can learn more about becoming a Sci Fanatics member. I'll catch you guys very soon with the next video. I'll see you soon.